Hi guys, we're back for place value part 2, and this time we're going to take a look at decimals with particular attention as to how we say them. So the earlier video was of whole numbers like 6 footballs, 14 hamburgers, 5 birthday cakes. Now we're looking at parts, just pieces. So decimals, a part of a pan of brownies, a part of a hamburger. So this place value chart tends to help tremendously. If I had whole, I would put it over here. So if I had 13 and a little bit of something, there's my whole number. Then I have my decimal. Finally, when I get to the decimal, I get to say the word and then if I put digits in here, we'll practice just a little bit as to how we say it. Now, the poem that we're putting in our journal, kind of a silly poem, but it kind of helps us, and it says, reading decimals is easy, you'll see. They have 2 names, like you and me. First, you say the name as if there were no dot, no decimal. Then you say the name of the last value spot. So let's practice a little bit. My whole numbers, 13, and then I say the name as if there were not a decimal there. That would just be 356. 13 and 356, and their last name, that decimal's last name, is the last spot that's filled up. The last spot that has a digit in it is thousands. So I would say that one as 13 and 356 thousandths. Thousandths is its last name. And you might want to practice some. You might want to pause a little bit. So I'm going to write numbers in, and I want us to practice just a little bit with how I would say it. So maybe pause it, think of how you would say it, and then come back and check with me. So my whole number is 4. So I would say 4 and say the name as if there were no dot, 56. 4 and 56, and the last name is the last spot that's filled up, hundredths. So I would say it correctly as 4 and 56 hundredths. Let's try another one. You might want to pause. So this one, whole numbers, 3 and I just have 6, 3 and 6, but my last name is still thousandths, 3 and 6 thousandths. And let's try one more. If I had that one, I don't have any whole numbers. I don't need to say and, because it wouldn't make sense to say I have and half of a hamburger. So all I would say is the digits as if there were no dot, 463, last name thousands, 463. So let's practice some, guys, in taking our decimals, or our decimals and whole numbers, and putting them still in my standard written expanded form, expanded notation. You can find more information on this in page 14 of the math book or page 5 of your journal. So I'm going to start out just writing a number. I'm going to start with that one, and we're going to take it, figure out how we would say it, and then write it in written form, word form. So I start with my whole number, 2, and I say 6, 2 and 6, and if I had my place value chart, my tenths come first, then my hundredths, and notice they all have THS on them, and then my thousandths, so those are my 3 spots. Again, they all end in the THS. That one ends in the 10th spot, so I would say it is 2 and 6/10. So I'm going to write it in word form. 2 and 6 And be sure when you're writing the tenths, you put the THS there. 2 6/10. Expanded form, 1 digit at a time, 2 plus 6/10. And it doesn't matter if you put the zeros in there, it still means the same amount. But if you want to, you can put the zeros in there. And then the expanded notation, the one with the parentheses, 2 times 1, the place value it's setting in, plus parentheses 1 times, and I'm going to write that tenth as a fraction. 1 times 1/10. Oops, not 1 time, it's, sorry guys, 6 times 1/10. So for my 2 6/10, 2 times 1 plus 6 times my 1/10, but I'm going to write my tenth as a fraction. Now let's try another one, and again, perfect time for you guys to see what my number is, then pause it and you try filling in the other forms. So let's go with whole number. So there's my standard form. You guys take it and write it in my other 3 forms and then come back and check yourself. I would say that one, 23 and 562, and the last place value filled in is my thousandths. So I would say it 23 and 562 thousandths. So I'm gonna write it 23, and again I'm putting the hyphen there, and then I say it as if there weren't even a decimal there. 563, well, I'm sorry, 562. And my last name, thousandths. That's the last spot that has a digit sitting in it. So 23 and 562 thousandths. Expanded form, 20 plus 3 plus my 5/10 plus my 600ths plus my 2,000ths. And again, guys, it doesn't matter if you put the extra zeros there, still means the same thing. My expanded notation, the parentheses one, 2 times 10 plus 3 times 1 plus parentheses 5 times 1/10 plus parentheses 6 times 100, and again guys, notice I'm writing them as a fraction, plus parentheses 2 times 1,000. That's my expanded notation. And again, I always think of the notation as the one with parentheses. Now, occasionally, just like in our whole numbers, they'll give us one form and they want us to take it and turn it into the other 3 forms. So what if I gave it to you in the expanded notation? So here's my number, 5 times 1 plus 6 times 1/10 plus 4 times 1,000. And they want me to put it in the other 3 forms. Well, my 5 is in the whole number, so it's got to come first, and then my decimal. I have a 6 in the 10th spot. I don't have anything in my 100th spot, so I'm going to put a 0 there. And then I have a 4 in the 1,000th spot, so I've taken my expanded notation, turned it into standard. Now I'm going to try writing it just like I would say it. 5 and I say 604, 604, and my last name. It will go all the way over to the thousandths. So 5 and 604 thousandths. And again, guys, be sure when you're writing it, you put the THS there. So we're talking about pieces. Expanded form, 5 plus 6/10 plus 4 thousandths. And those are all 4 forms of my decimals. There's a whole bunch of these that you can practice in your math book, and I think you should be okay with both your whole numbers and your decimals.